Hey babes, my name's Hannah.
And my name is Chasity.
Welcome back to Bookish Babes. Today we're doing a little bit of a different video. We're going to be telling you guys all about the books that we read in one sitting. And obviously there over the years have been many of those, but we're going to talk about 5 each. Just ones that came to our mind. So we'll probably do a part 2
that I can remember.
Yeah.
At the point.
Yeah.
Right now.
So the first one that I wanted to talk about was a recent read, and that was Darling Rose Gold.
Ooh, I haven't started it yet.
It's so good. I talked about it in our January reading wrap up, so I'm not going to go into it here, but it's definitely something like I sat down and I was like, oh, I'll read for a few minutes before I go to bed, and then I didn't go to sleep till like 4 a.m. because I stayed up reading it. One of my favorite books ever, so.
I can't wait to read it.
And maybe not ever, but of the year.
But, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
So, the first one that I'm going to talk about, I actually had just had surgery. So I was on like bed rest for like 2 weeks. So this book came out like 2 days after my surgery or something like that. Verity by Colleen Hoover. I could not put it down.
Yeah, I also read this in one sitting.
Not put this down. This, I had to know what was going on.
And we've talked about this many times on our channel. I think we have a whole dedicated video to it.
We do.
But I've also read that in one sitting, and it's crazy.
Yeah. And it was very late when I finished it, and I was very spooked.
Yeah.
I was like, people are gonna be here.
Yeah. The next one is The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. This is like a book that I wanted to read for a long time, and I kept putting it off. But then when I finally sat down to read it, I like loved the story so much, and I was like so entranced with it that it was like suddenly it was over, and it was like 5 hours later, and I hadn't moved. And I love books like that, books that you can just completely like. It felt like I was just watching a movie, you know. I loved it. So.
That's actually how I felt about this next one. Slammed by Colleen Hoover. This was one of the first ones I read by her. Ugly Love, I think, was the very... No. Hopeless was the very first. Oh, okay. So this was the second one that I read by her.
That's her first book that she ever put out.
Yeah, and I devoured this in just a few hours because... like, not only is it a good story, but it had a lot of, like, personal... like stuff that I was going through at the time was in this book, so it really hit me hard, and I read it in one sitting and cried my eyes out, and yeah.
So the next one is also kind of a recent read, and it was Sinner's Retreat by V.E. Ellis is what she goes by then.
V.K. Ellis.
V.K. Ellis. Her name's Victoria Ellis, but this was so good, and it's such a short book that it was really easy just to sit down, and like it was like I completely knocked it out, and I was like entranced the whole time. Once again, it felt like I was watching a movie.
I also read this one in one sitting.
Yes, I loved it. I loved the story. It was such a unique story.
It really was, and I just devoured it.
And I love tropes like that. It was almost like a very like a spin on like a Saw movie.
Yes, exactly.
Like they were like trapped in a house, and they had to like complete certain, you know, challenges or whatever.
I had no intention of reading that book that night either. I just opened it and that was it.
Yeah, and then
it was over.
The whole thing, yeah.
The next one I'm going to talk about is The Perfect Husband by Lisa Gardner. I read this years ago, and I'm actually kind of interested to reread it and see if I still like feel the same way about the characters and whatnot. But this one I could not put down. It was probably one of my first intros to that type of book. Yeah. Like the psychological thriller and like detective crime mystery. And I just devoured it. I had to know what happened. I was just like, this is amazing. One setting.
Yeah. The next one is Twice in a Blue Moon by Christina Lauren. I haven't read all of Christina Lauren's books. They were writing duo, but this one, for whatever reason, it was like so my jam. Yeah. Very much like a second chance sort of situation where
I don't think I've read that one.
No, but you should. I really loved it, and I was so invested in the characters that like I had to just know how it was going to end. It was like one of those. I think I was on vacation the day that I read this or something. I think I very vividly remember being like in a hotel. I don't remember why I was in a hotel, but I was out of town somewhere, and like I sat in the bed in the hotel room and just read the whole thing instead of going out and enjoying vacation, which is the story of my life. But it was so good, and it's not one of their higher rated ones, which I'm surprised about. It's probably my favorite one that I've read from them. But there's another one that's probably my favorite. That's Love in Other Words. That's probably my favorite by them. But this one's a close second. I liked this one.
The next one I'm going to talk about. It was a longer sitting because it's a big old book, but A Court of Mist and Fury. This is the second one in the Court of Thorns and Roses series, and it's my absolute favorite.
And if you remember, I said that I would never read those books.
We're not going to talk about that. No. So for real though, this was like the turning point for me, this book. Yeah. I devoured the first one, but then I was like, oh, I need to know what happens. And I had this one, so literally, I was probably reading this one for longer than a day. Like, I'd say longer than a day, but like I didn't do anything else.
Yeah.
Like I ate and
went to the bathroom,
and that was it. So it's probably like a 16-hour read, really. But yeah, I couldn't put it down. Yeah, I could not put it down.
I love books like that.
This was just so good.
Yeah,
so good. And still one of my favorite books, like, ever. And it's the second one in the series, which is weird for me because usually the first one just takes the cake. Like, it can't. But this one,
it's your baby.
Maybe.
The last one I want to talk about is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. This was one that I started at night that I really shouldn't have started at night because it was very, like, it had a very paranormal feel to it. And I love Ruth Ware. Like, I feel like I always get sucked into her books. But this one in particular, it was about kind of a nanny staying at a house with kids and like weird things started happening. And I was just like, I had to know why things were happening. It was like one of those things where like, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to finish this chapter and then I'm going to put it down. But then something would happen in that chapter and I like needed to know where that aspect of the book was going. And I couldn't stop, so I just read the whole thing.
Yeah.
It got to the point where I was just like, okay, clearly I'm just going to finish this book.
Yeah, I'm just gonna, and that's, I think, how I felt about Sinner's Retreat recently. Yeah. It was like, okay, well, I'm just going to stay up and finish this.
I feel like we're not going into like so much detail with these books, but these are all books that we've talked about on the channel before.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Absolutely. Was that your last one?
Yeah.
Okay, so the last one I'm going to talk about actually is not just a specific book, but it's a type of book. Most of Ellen Hopkins, I will sit there and read in one sitting. One, because it's really easy to read hers because they're written in prose, but two, because like I just devour them. I have not read, she has, I think, 2 new ones out that I haven't read, but I've read everything else, and I used to just absolutely devour her
Never
books.
read any Ellen Hopkins.
I loved her.
What kind of books does she write again?
They're young adult, but they're like, so they're written in like poetry form, but they tell a story.
Oh, I see.
And I think that was probably my first intro to like poetry, because I was never a really big poetry reader, and now I kind of am.
I'm not a poetry fan, but maybe I'll try them.
I would, because that was my like intro, because it actually told a full story, like a full novel in prose form, which was really interesting to me. And there's one in particular, Identical, which I never saw coming. But they're all very good. The first 3 that she put out, well, I don't know if it's, but Crank was her very first one, and then it was Glass and Fallout. That's actually based on her daughter, who got addicted to Crank.
Oh, I feel like I remember seeing those on shelves before, but
they're really good. Yeah. They're really, really good. But I think that's it for us. So let us know down below what you think of our, wonderful selections here.
And let us know what books you read in one sitting. We're always looking for new suggestions.
We are always looking for recommendations and anything that you guys have to say. Also, come visit us in our Facebook group under Bookish Babes. And we also now have a TikTok.
It's under Bookish Babes CH. I'm trying my best.
We are trying to get out there, so come chat in the group.
I'm trying with TikTok, but
find us on TikTok. Come chat with us in the group. Yeah. We're always asking questions in there and trying to get your guys' input. So let us know down below. Make sure you subscribe and hit that like button, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.